Hello, Book 2. I finally finished with Richard J. Evans' The Coming of the Third Reich. This is his first in a three-part series on the Third Reich, which was initially published in 2005. And I'm particularly mentioning its publishing date because in reading this book now, you would almost think he was writing this as a historical overview of this period, but also a critique of what's happening now here in America. And I would say that part took me longer to read this book than probably it normally would have. Say I read this book 10 years ago, I wouldn't have made so many startling connections, read so many deeply troubling similarities. MAGA and Trump are nowhere to be found in this book. There's no, America's barely even mentioned. But the similarities are just startling. So the book was constantly giving me pause. The rise of the Third Reich is not quite how I pictured it with my limited American education. It's much more than just this guy came along, everybody went, hey, cool. But I can't get into all that here. But I will say, if you only even have a passing interest in history, or you want to know a little bit more about this period, if your local library has this book, say you don't even want to read the whole book, read the last subchapter here, where he summarizes everything. And the author asks the question, a revolution of destruction? And it gives a really nice breakdown of what is covered here. It's actually beautifully written. I was really taken aback by the author's prose here. Everything. It's just exceptional. So this is a beautiful edition by Penguin. And I say beautiful just because the binding is so nice. This trade paper is very flexible. The binding completely held up to me doing this. And, I really got into this. Yeah, exceptionally well done. The actual page count for the book itself is 461 pages, but then there are many, many, many more pages of bibliography and notes. There's an extensive bibliography here. It's very impressive. I look forward to going through that a bit better sometime. I actually just finished this book this morning. I've been at it for some time now. That's Pumpkin. As I said, there's 2 other volumes. I have been unsuccessful in tracking down the second volume locally. Hey, sweetie. You want to come up? Locally, we went to 2 half-price books recently, and they didn't have any books by Richard J. Evans, which is, I found, like, either they just don't make it around here or very popular. I don't know. So, but at my local library, I did pick up his Hitler's People. This one's a pretty dense one as well, but the layout is a bit more spaced out than the other book. I'm not going to read all of this now, but there are some people here I am going to read those sections on and then return to this at a later date. Are you coming down or not? She was just napping. I guess my talking got her worked up here. So, yeah. Coming of the Third Reich, it's probably not, unless you know a lot about history, it's probably not quite how you think about it at all. It's very fascinating. Evans is a great writer. It really puts to shame so many books I've read or partially read because it makes you really appreciate good writing, good editing. So yeah, thank you. Um, I did order a book online. I did order a book online from one of those mega eBay sellers. Um, they are getting increasingly difficult. I'm finding. I try sampling different ones. When I said the mega eBay, they're the ones literally selling millions of books. You get, um, you know, they're usually like $5 ship, which means they're making next to nothing on the book, um, with shipping costs. But they tend to reel you in by buy three or more, you get one free or whatever. And a lot of times I just sample the seller first. Like, are your gradings even close? And I bought this copy by Russia's War by Richard Overy. Steve Donahue had brought up on one of Overy's books that looked interesting to me, but all the online prices were more than I could afford right now. This one was $5, and definitely was up my alley here. Unfortunately, I mean, it's decent shape, but I mean, there is a lot of. Thankfully, it's faded now. But this seems to have been some kids' college students' book or something. There's a lot of faded highlighting. I'm sorry, in here, as well as notes. It's a little banged up. No big deal. It's $5 ship, so I'm not gonna complain too much. But yeah, it's getting old. The AI descriptions by sellers is getting old. There are good sellers on eBay. Don't just write off eBay. But keep in mind, if a seller is actually taking the time to grade a book properly and take pictures and stuff, that takes a lot of time, and they are going to have to charge a little bit more, because you can't do all that and price it at the same thing that some seller just posts a stock image of and says $5 and doesn't tell you anything about the book, and you don't know what you're getting. So you can't compare that. So took a shot, didn't win this time, but we did well. The missus took me to Half Price Books for get some birthday books for me, so that was really nice. And interesting enough, I didn't buy anything from their clearance section. I didn't find anything of interest, which is unusual. But I did find clearance price books in the regular section. And I'm seeing I'm getting on in time here, so I need to pick it up. First up is The Guns of August by Barbara Tuchman. This is a really well-made paperback by Bantam Books. The flex on this is great. The pages, this is held up really well. There's only the slightest bit of tanning here. No real gutter loss, when you can't read down here. Really good flex on this. So yeah, I typically I would have gotten this in trade paper, but this is a really nice paperback, and it's $3.49, so not complaining. Next up was The U-Boats at War with Harold Bush. This was only $1.25. Sorry, Pumpkin. And this has a beautiful step back cover, which I don't even think they do anymore. But this one, interesting enough, being a U-Boats book, it's slightly water wart, but there's no odors or mold or anything. So at this price, I'm fine. Next up was The Last Days of Patton by Farajo. The author's last name. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm not even going to try his first name. But I thought this looked interesting, and it was only $1. And the next paperback, and our last paperback, is Siegfried, The Nazis' Last Stand by Charles Whitting. So I'm not familiar with this author. There seemed to be a whole series in this run, but just grab this one. Next up is John Toland's Infamy, Pearl Harbor and its Aftermath. And as you can see, this one was 6, but it was marked down to 3. Toland is most famous for his mammoth biography on Adolf Hitler. And apparently this was a bit of a controversial book. So, I'm interested in reading that. Next, we have Knight's Cross, a biography on Rommel. And this is a pretty dense one here. And there's even on the back here, we even have a little praise by John Toland for this. So that's pretty cool. So these were all really cheap. This one was only $3. It's a great shape. The only book that we paid up on was The Renaissance by Will Durant. And this one was $9, but we had a bit of a coupon, so it knocked a little bit off. And this, except for this faded spine, which I think every copy I find of this is faded, it's really good shape. And these used to be really widely available at garage sales and stuff, but I do not see them anymore. It's been years. And it's actually pretty rare to actually find one with the dust jacket. So yeah. And is there anything else? No. My only other find was a Beethoven's Fifth. And this is an old West German pressing. If you have any interest in classical music and you have a Pratt Price Books in your area, check out their clearance section. They tend to clear out the classical in purges, honestly. And you can get great recordings for $2-3 tops. I'm usually getting for $2. It used to be $1, but now it's usually $2. This disc is in great shape, only like one tiny scratch. And this has Vladimir Ajanovsky on piano. So curious to check that out. Hope you're doing well. I do. Thank you.